Please welcome Editorial Director of Hotel News Now, Stephanie Rica, and the Elevate Your Perspective panel.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Oh, he's already moving a cushion.
Moving a
Oh,
cushion.
look at these guys, just like at home.
just-
Can't sit on the couch
this, we'll put
without
it back.
squashing
There
the
we go.
cushions. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's panel discussion with hotel brands and hotel owners. Obviously, Hunter is an owners conference, as we've heard all week, and this is quite a hot seat to have owners and brands on one stage. I promise we will have no fights. My name is Stephanie Rica. I'm the editorial director of Hotel News Now. We may, depending on how the mood of the crowd goes, take a few audience questions near the end. We don't have microphones, so if we do that, you'll have to come up and shout, but we'll see how that goes. But let's get started with our discussion. So starting with you, Bobby, go down, introduce yourselves briefly, and for the sake of the audience, tell us how you all know one another.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Bobby Molinari. I lead Marriott Select Service development in the U.S. I've been with Marriott for a little over 8 years now. Been in development quite a long time. I think, I know these two gentlemen very well, Marriott franchisees.
Because you've done deals together.
And we've only more recently met, but certainly know of you, so yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Pete.
I'm Pete Patel, founder, CEO of Nexera Capital. We're a hotel development management company based here in Atlanta. We've got 22 properties in our portfolio, 14 which are open, 8 kind of in either different stages of development. And just like Bobby said, just know these guys through working together with them on deals.
Great. Rinkesh.
Hey, good afternoon. Rinkesh Patel, Ram Hotels, Columbus, Georgia. We've got 30 properties open. We have 23 in active pipeline. We have 15. Of 15, we finished 5 last year. We have 10 active construction right now. Of those, 6 will roll off. This year, 4 will be next, and we have another 8 coming behind it. We represent both, Bobby here and Diana. Matter of fact, I've known Diana since our first Hampton Hilton that we did during the promise time.
See, there's going to be a reason why I ask how you all know one another. Diana, introduce yourself.
Hi, Diana with Hilton. I do owner relations and have known both of these guys. I think they have over 20 hotels with Hilton representing 7 different brands. And Bobby and I have recently gotten to know each other. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the 2nd and 3rd generation hoteliers in the audience. I've met so many in the last couple of days. I'm a 2nd generation hotelier, so hats off to everybody in the room.
Our first round of applause. I love it.
A little weak, but we'll work on it.
So in the description for this panel, it says that we want to gain valuable insights into the evolving relationship between brands and owners. And so that's why I asked them to tell us how they know one another, because obviously this industry is small. Owners and brands have to be in it for the long term and really get along well, which is going to be a theme of what we talk about. But before we get into looking at those specific projects, I want to hear from all of you quickly, and we'll start with you, Diana. How would you say in your career that relationship between brand and owner has changed? Give us one example of change. Could be positive, could be negative. What's an example of change in that relationship?
I think in recent years, we've all learned to be better listeners and to be more collaborative together.
Rinkesh.
I think the hospitality industry, and specifically the franchise model, has been out there for 4 decades now, even going older than that. So without close collaboration, there's no way we would all have gotten here in such a nice way. That's my real opinion. So I think from product development standpoint of view to technological evolvements, just guest experience, I think it's always going to be feedbacks. Let's go back and stay up with the current trend, refine it, go back, and how can we deliver that end experience for our guest? And I think it's a result of the collaboration. So there's a lot of collaborations. Then we could go in and have a whole session on that.
So that wasn't necessarily the case
Yes,
when you started.
absolutely.
Pete, how about you?
I think everything's getting a lot tougher, right? Obviously, everybody's talking about the conference here. So, communication, collaboration, working together, especially in this environment to get deals done. I think we've got to be involved heavily with these guys, communicating, letting them know kind of our concerns and working together to get deals done.
Bobby, what's an example of change?
Well, I would say it's not necessarily, well, it is changed, but it's evolving to have stronger relationships, right? I think that we've recognized the value of really good partners and great relationships, and having those, the stronger those relationships are, the more that we can rely on one another to solve problems and to get, hotels under construction, hotels open, and make sure that they're great experiences for our guests. So
Those mutual benefits, which
Yes.
we'll talk about as well. All right, so like I mentioned, this is an investment conference. We've got owners on our panels. Rinkesh and Pete, I want to start with you. You both have robust pipelines, which is not necessarily the case for everybody during these times of slow transactions. We've heard the last 2 years have been record slow volume of transactions. I'd like you each to share briefly what's in your pipeline. We're going to start with you, Pete. Share briefly what's in your pipeline, and then give an example of a specific project that you are working through right now, how you got it over the finish line, working with the brands, and then Rinkesh, you'll follow.
Sure. Like I said, we've got 8 projects basically in the pipeline.
So 8 in the pipeline.
We've got 3 basically under construction right now. One actually not too far from here, Moxie in downtown Atlanta. So it'll be close to the venue next year. We're hopefully trying to get open before World Cup, obviously, next year, which is going to be a huge event here in Atlanta. So our goal is to open Q1 next year. We just opened the AC in downtown Seattle last quarter, fourth quarter last year. Excited about that project as well. We're about to start here in about a month, hopefully, for a Hampton Home 2 in Nashville, right in the East Bank area, which, again, we're excited about that. It's right across from Oracle headquarters. And then we've got a residence inn in Cary, North Carolina that's under construction as well right now. So we've got a lot going on, as you can.
And all under construction.
All under construction, and then we've got, the Hampton Home 2 is going to start in about a month.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, but those are all going to be new builds.
All new build. And that's our growth for our company has been through ground-up construction. We really haven't had any acquisitions. Our growth has been just through ground-up construction.
Okay, so talk us through an interesting one.
I think even like the Moxie here in downtown Atlanta right now, we've obviously cost a major issue. And so really working with the brands and value engineering things and getting them to sign off on, where we need to, save some money basically. Again, the deal sizes are getting bigger. We need to save as much money as we can. So, getting them involved early and working through, value engineering and again, helping on ramps, key money, all that kind of stuff really helps us out.
Get a little more specific when you talk about value engineering. Is it with FF&E? Is it with the build out?
Perfect example in our showers.
Okay,
We went,
yeah.
The Moxie has an incredible bathroom with basically a tile. I think we found up a value engineering idea with working with them, getting them to do actually a shower panel.
Okay.
It saved us a ton of money. Getting their approval, we get the same look, same guest satisfaction. So it's a win-win for all of us.
All right, so that is something that you were thinking at the time, like, hey, this could solve a problem, let's figure it out.
Yep.
And it works.
It works.
See, we've boiled it down into something that probably sounds way more simple than it actually is, but how does that work from your perspective, Bobby? You're Marriott, owners come to you and say this, that.
Well, you gave a really high-level overview, but to be honest, there's probably 1,000 different things that you have to work on and solve throughout the deal process. And so, we don't always get involved necessarily on the design stuff. They'll go through our design department for that, but we certainly get involved on, when the deal is looking a little bit at risk. And so, it's just a collaborative process, right, to find the right solutions, because ultimately we just have to get these projects under construction and open. And so being creative, looking for solutions, trying to say yes more than we say no, and, trying to work together, so. Yeah.
Rinkesh, tell us what's in your pipeline and then share a deal specific.
Yeah, so we have 33. That's quite a large number. And depending on how you dice it, you can say 23 for sure, confirm.
Okay.
In terms of completion and permit pull, construction on Lowe's Coles, and we have sort of commands, and the rest of the 8 are on drawing board. We found ourselves in midst of pandemics. We were rolling on an 18 months period, 5 to 7 hotels prior to the pandemic. We didn't know if we were going to even have our own hotels when pandemic happened. So we sort of paused.
Okay.
So at that time, we had 6 untitled sites ready to go. We actually closed on 2 deals, and the banker called and say, would you mind not commencing on it? Like, well, we certainly get it, we won't do it. Fast forward, we're in Sunbelt states, and our markets did fairly better than our peers, many peers, and we saw that we're going to be just fine. So we went back to the market just to get a shock, saying that, okay, we had penciled in $140 a square foot, and it's $240 a square foot. So we wasted another about a year period or so in trying to figure out what's the mess going on. And quickly we realized that if we didn't do something creative and unique, I don't think so we'll be able to fulfill this obligation. So we sort of went back, and we had a great general contractor partner who had built 25 hotels for us, and they'd done about 70 in their lifestyle. They were also a hotelier at one point. And we talked, and it's like, look, we lost your capacity, and we moved on. We couldn't wait for you, and would like to be back, and we just don't have the time. And so we brought in a couple of building and art science graduates, and I just got on and said we need to do a construction vertical. So we started out there and started sourcing subcontractors, suppliers, and put a deal together and got one off the ground, got a second one off the ground, and third one off the ground, and fourth one off the ground, and quickly realized that I'm going to be a contractor. I don't think so. I want to do that anymore. So I called my guy and say, hey, I have the package. I've done the work for you, all the hard work. Do you mind? How much do you want to charge me? Right? Because that was the hardest thing. Just like we lost a lot of talent when we furloughed and then we brought them back in, we lost legacy talent. So your foremans and your plumbers and electricians, they all left. So then nobody was pricing it. So just giving you this courtesy number, they want to turn you down and say, it's going to be $2 million premium, $3 million premium. Well, that doesn't work. We're not a Coke where syrup goes up. I charge them the Coke can, and next day syrup comes down, and I can bring my cost is trapped for the next 20 years.
Right.
So we sort of like said, we're not going to do that. And we sort of kind of got that started. And soon thereafter, the guy came back and said, hey, we have capacity for you. So hey, here you go, another 4. Then we had another big one, urban project AC, post-tension concrete building. I'm like, I don't want to fool with it. It's a $50 million deal, and this is a live grenade. I just don't want to deal with this. It's a huge construction liability. By the way, do not do this unless you have full confidence if you can do that. This is a unique situation. Full disclosure. So then we started the whole process, and the heartbeat came in at 30 million. I said, I can pencil in 22 million. So by the time I got 9 rounds of interviews, they still can't do it. So found a contractor, say, hey, you don't know how to do this together, but I can assemble it, I can sequence it together. And with our guys, we can price it together for us. So we hit a price for 22 million, picked up 8 million on it. So that's what keeps us going, and that's what has served us in our earlier stage. So our capital cost on all 30 open hotels is very nice. Our portfolio is probably about 45% loan to value, 2.7, 2.8 DSCR. So that gives us the courage to do all these kind of things, right? And that's the reason why we should keep our capitalized costs the way it should be. It's not hard negotiating. It's not going out there and shopping. You're not going to find that. You're going to have to evolve, or you're going to retool your shop sort of that way so that we can deliver the inventory in the market that we have obligation to be signed up for. So that's what we sort of did. So we have 11 right now, between some on our own end, some with our first general contractor, and the new partners that we have. So we finished 5, we hold 11, 6 rolls off, 4 more, and now we're looking for a third guy where we can go to him and say, hey, would you do this for us? Because we have a huge commitment to both Marriott and Hilton, we believe. So the prior projects were all upper scale and lifestyle ACs, Tribute, and all of that stuff. And now we're doing, because another thing for us is, we were building in the existing market we were already in, and we did well for the last 10 years. We represented Marriott and Hilton both on our mature brand. Those opportunities doesn't exist anymore. So the opportunity exists with the mid-scale, especially with the LiveSmart here. So we've signed quite a bit with them, and StudioRes as well. So we knew, and I feel like they're a smaller size, so we can do number of them at a time, if that makes more sense on it. So we had to be a little bit creative on that side of it. So it's a lot going for me.
You talked about creativity and finding so many different people to talk to about it. That's how I feel like I see this relationship has evolved over years, in that owners, especially at the scale that you both have, you know your markets very well. You know what it needs and what it takes, and so you can see kind of that back and forth with the brands. I want to talk a little bit broader about the deals environment. Of course, that is something that is on the minds of everybody. Brands, you both want net unit growth, right? That is the key. Deals are a lot tougher to come by in the current lending environment. Diana and Bobby, how do you meet your owners in the middle? And I'll start with you, Diana. Are you offering incentives, key money, Do you limit those benefits to certain chain scales, brands, markets?
Yes to all of that.
Okay, tell
We
us
do,
more.
and it is, our development team is here, so I'm sure Bobby's is as well. It really depends on each market and each brand, if you're launching a new brand or if there's a market that you have a need in. But very deep discussions are had on that, and it's all on what's the value of the deal. But each case is unique and different, but of course, we're doing all of those things.
And do you notice, when you talk to owners who are all involved in various different types of projects like these two guys are, do any, key themes emerge? Is it owners that are saying, we want to go up higher in your chain scales, we want to add more in a market, we want to start something new? How does that change?
Well, owner success is our success and vice versa. And often successes, we see an owner come in for a Spark or a True, and successes, they're reaping the premiums of those brands, and then they do more brands for us. So I think successes, we're all with that reliable, friendly stay, and we're all trying to protect right now that quality and product to deliver the premiums that owners expect from the
Right.
brands.
Right. Bobby, how about from your perspective? How do you meet in the middle to get deals done?
Well, I mean, we're not any dissimilar to Hilton in terms of types of incentives we offer. Or even, really, I think when we look at projects, we're always focused on what are we trying to solve for, right? And sometimes, maybe it is incentive, and maybe sometimes it's not an incentive. Maybe it's a brand change, right? Or maybe it's a room count change or a total program change. And it just all depends. And I think you sort of have to unpack the symptoms from the underlying illness, and the things that sort of manifest, and you think about like, oh well, my capital stack's not coming together, or my interest rates are too high, or my equity's too expensive. Those could all be symptoms of something else underlying with the total project, and you really have to work to unpack. And not have any egos, and really decide, okay, what's the best thing for this project and the best thing for the development, and then try to figure out a way and come together and solve whatever it is, whether it's incentive or whether it's brand change or whatever it is. And so that's where the relationships and the partnerships really are beneficial. The stronger they are, the more you can collaborate together and try to find a solution that works for both groups. So.
You mentioned brand changes. Both of you, Marriott and Hilton, have launched brands in recent years. It's what you do. It's your business. When this happens, Pete and Rinkesh, when Marriott launches or buys something, Hilton launches something, what do you think? What's your first thought? Is it, oh my gosh, we have a new exciting opportunity to do a Spark or to do an AC? Or do you think, oh my gosh, here's another one? Be honest. Pete?
Honestly, there's, too many brands. I mean, plain and simple, there's just too many brands. But, perfect example, like I think we built the second True in the country, and obviously we're just a little nervous about it, whatever, brand new brand. But,
Right.
It took off. It's been a great asset for us. So, we worry, obviously.
So then that'll benefit you.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out, right? So, but again, I think, both these guys do a great job with their new brands. Obviously, with AC coming over, bringing it from Europe and stuff, it's been a huge success, right? So it's hard from us, from an ownership standpoint, is how many more brands are we going to roll out, right? So if you've got a great market, now you've got a new brand, hey, there's more competition coming out. How is that going to affect our, property in the market? So,
Right.
Again, we've, built new properties as well, new brands as well, but it's just, at a certain point, how many, more brands can we have?
Right. Rinkesh, what's always your gut reaction when there's
I think it's what day of the week that you ask me that question. The reason why I say that is for two part. I think there's, if you were asked me this 10 years ago, and we had fewer properties, and we now have 17 brands that we operate and have built. And if you'd asked me earlier, I would say, I think it's getting brand mania there. But now that I look at it and I say, you know what, perhaps not every brand is for every corner. So when you ask me on certain days, and I'm like, this town doesn't need an Element, there's an Element coming up over here, how did that happen?
Right.
Right? It's in the South, and there's no that kind of demography. Maybe it will happen eventually, but it's not there. So sometimes there might be an early adapter that's doing it. So maybe that's one day. And the other days, we are the people that are saying, okay, I want to do 4 Trues, and I want to do Live Smart, I want to do the AC. We're one of the first AC to go in an urban secondary market and secondary urban market. So it just depends on what side you're on. Sure. But I do think that as especially today with our guest, who we share with the rest of the economy, they're used to having different things, and there's more brands. So they're all brand-centric, right? They follow brand from everything they do in their day-to-day life. So there's going to be a lot more brand-centric people versus the baby boomers when this brand business started with Courtyards and Hampton. So I think I see a panorama there where you're going to be a lot more brands, and then it's going to be well balanced. You're going to have a mix of legacy and distinct brands, and they'll manage to coexist. It's just what you deliver. Does the street corner is ready to receive it? That's what it's going to come down to. And for me, I think it's more opportunity to grow because I can't grow with Hampton. I can't get a Courtyard. I can't get a Hilton Garden Inn. They're all represented already.
And there's that mutual success,
Yeah,
right? Between
correct.
launching more brands and being able to find opportunity and
But if you're
develop.
one person who has in Hampton and had it for 15 or 20 years, my peers are here. They might not want to hear this, but they might feel that there's an encroachment there, and that's fine. But we have, just like how we want to grow, just like how you grew.
Right.
Well,
As the industry grows and
got to
matures.
grow. Yeah, so I'm going to probably catch a lot of crap from my friends.
You know what I took away from that is I need to find a location for a Hampton and a Hilton Garden Inn, is what I heard.
See? And we
For me?
talk. We'll do a deal right on this stage. If we can make that happen,
You got it,
Hunters
man.
will always invite us back. One of the things then, this of course puts the burden on the brands to come up with those ways of ensuring quality, of ensuring differentiation, which from my perspective, I see that seems to be happening a lot more clearly these days. And when we spoke in preparation for this panel, the topic of product quality and service quality came up a lot. And we hear that a lot now, especially in this environment of change of ownership PIPs and refreshing product. Bobby and Diana, the brands do tend to lead this conversation, but you can't have a quality portfolio without owner buy-in. So how do you get it? Diana, how do you make that happen? How do you help facilitate that to happen?
Right? I think that's what we're all living right now, is we're all trying to make sure we're delivering on those premiums and ADRs that guests have. But as brands, we have to look at balancing what the customer is expecting with owner economics. And that's a huge part of every discussion we make. And both of these gentlemen have sat on our owner advisory councils where we get a lot of feedback from our owners, and that is key. It is all about the quality and the service that we provide at our hotels, but you can't go overboard because if owners and the economics don't work, then you don't have owners that can survive and also make a profit. So this is something we talk about every day, and it's a delicate balance. And a lot of these conversations that we're having right now on product improvement plans, we talked about PIPs, is the timing and the scope, and where can you be creative to work with the owner so that we can have a win-win for both.
Bobby, what's your perspective on it? And do you think that that's become an easier conversation to have?
No, it's not
Okay.
an easy conversation, definitely not. I think it's probably harder and harder every day.
Okay.
I think the only other thing I would add is that I really think it's demonstrating to the owner, and we work really hard to try to do this, and I think maybe Rinkesh, you could probably even talk to this, being involved in our FACs. We just want to demonstrate an ROI to owners, not only just on improving the asset, but providing great service to the guest and what the return is to doing that. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on that, trying to demonstrate that to owners, and it's never easy. It's always a challenge, but it's important. Right? It's important to the guests. It's important to the hotel owner. It's important to the system and the brand as a whole. And so we've got to do it. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
So.
How they doing, guys, in the middle? Pretty well?
We look, they do listen, and I think from the last 4 years when we faced common crisis together, we clearly saw that we had a common interest was to serve our guests and also to make sure our existence is not getting questioned. And we came up with many things to mitigate the crisis and come out of it. And as we came out of it, we kind of realized that this type of close collaboration should continue, and it always has been. And believe me or not, we are vocal for all the other hoteliers as well, and they do listen. Yeah, and you know what? We're gonna agree on 8 things, 2 things we may not agree on, but that's a win. That's absolutely a win any given day, because that's gonna get our economies in the order. That's gonna make our life easier to operate this branded hotel, because that's why we pay into the system, is because we wanted to come up with a game plan that's efficient and easy for us to run, so that we serve our common guests and generate the cash for both of us, right? So they do absolutely do that.
How do you see that return of emphasis on quality and service coming back in your hotels from guests? You know, brands will talk about that a lot. Do you see it happening? I think one of you mentioned on the call, we see this happening at Starbucks, at chain restaurants that are saying, oh, now it's not a takeaway cup, it's you sit and you enjoy.
So, you know, I think it's all stemming from brands, and most every brand is having is where, you know, we're not there. Now, we may have recovered our RevPARs and our top line numbers, but our promises as a brand to our customer, maybe we're not fulfilling it to what we were doing before 2019. And I think it came out of the fact that we let everybody go, okay? We let everybody go so that we could keep the lights on and maybe we have a chance of coming back. Well, when we brought everybody back, they were not the same people. The processes were out the door, right? The experience was out the door. The work ethics were out of the door. There was completely new people coming in. We lost so many older legacy, you know, employees, associates, and all ranks. Doesn't matter, you know, on the GM side or on the executive housekeeper side, and everybody that came in was new. And at that time, it was just a different time, let's put it this way. So we didn't get the behavioral input or the contribution that we wanted from the team that we had on board. So naturally, we would have a shortcoming in serving our guests, right? So we have all recognized it, we're working on it, and I can tell you that we're already seeing it. First, he was like, okay, well, you know, we can't even have a housekeeper to clean these rooms, and we're rolling rooms, and our GMs are staying 8 at night, they're getting burned out, they're quitting. Forget about quality. I mean,
Right.
what quality?
That's
I mean,
when
you
it
gotta turn the room over.
You feel the hit.
Right, and as we kind of go through one quarter after another quarter, and things seem to be simmered down, and you know people are coming back in. So we built up our workforce, but now we got to get the training and rhythm back in. Okay, remember we operate a 100-room hotel on a Friday. We have 80 checkouts. There's a piles of laundries that somebody has to do. Okay, and I used to do laundry when we had a hotel, and you asked me to do it today. I'm not conditioned. I'm going to be very honest with you. I can't ask my associate that I'm barely paying minimum wage to do that. That's the reality. I mean, these are the associates that we really build this industry on. And when you let them go and when you bring them back in and they're new people, you got to give it a time. So we're all giving it time, and it's gradually turning. And I assure you, that wasn't just an industry issue. You've seen that with airlines. You've seen that with Starbucks. You've seen that with casual restaurants. You've seen it with everybody else. I think we will recover before everybody else.
Right.
I think so. We all will do that.
So that might almost be one of those catalysts to bringing back that emphasis.
And we just smidge more to go, and we'll be right there by 2019 level.
Right.
And life will be much easier. Because when they function, we can function. If not, we're putting out the fires that don't need to be put out.
Right. Pete, how do you feel about what your guests want and how that might be a little bit different now? Like, you've got a bunch of AC hotels. AC hotels are kind of the place to be. Like, I feel like people are talking about those as
I mean, we love the brand, right?
experience.
Especially in our corporate markets. I mean, you know, the guests, they want a different experience. They want a great bar experience. They want, you know, the room matters, obviously, but the
And that
public
means
area-
quality.
Yeah, it means quality.
You can't just,
Yeah. Again, there's, you know, especially a market like Seattle, there's plenty of products out there, right? So we got to make sure what we're providing to our guests is something they want to elevated, you know, experience. And I think the AC brand, you know, they do a great job of doing that. It's consistent, right? Whether you're at a AC in Seattle or AC in Atlanta, you're getting a, you know, consistent quality product. And I think that's really, really important.
yeah, I almost feel that way. You mentioned that Starbucks example. Like, it doesn't really matter now, even in a lot of retail brands, what price level you're going into that brand with. There's these expectations of course, experience, and then quality always kind of comes back to that. So, Rinkesh, you mentioned labor. Bobby and Diana, this is often a place where brands find themselves coming in to help, whether it's training, you know, technology that can help get people trained on systems and brands. How are you giving assistance when it comes to getting back that labor force, or even figuring out in brands now, do we need this many people? Should they be in point A or point B? Figuring out the labor part of it. Figuring out is a very tall order. Working amid the labor.
Well, we've had, with Marriott, we've had a, you know, whole training program on our select service brands before you come into the system. really getting you familiar with what Marriott is, our culture, how to operate a hotel. We really boil it down to the basics, and then the goal is really to sort of train the trainer so that the trainer can go back and train the associate. And that program, that training program is always evolving, right? Because the associates are changing, the customer service is changing. It's different for each of our brands, and so you have to evolve and modify and adapt, and change for the current times and what's happening in the environment. So we have those training programs, and then I'd say on the technology piece, I feel like we're always going to play catch up with technology.
Oh yeah,
these
we'll
days.
talk about technology.
It's not even a matter of being current. It's always how do you evolve to play catch up. So, but the combination of those two things, I think, are how you address it. So.
Diana, how about for you? How does, right, and I'm particularly interested in, when you're looking at prototypes for brands and developing brand standards, how that question of labor, which now we know is always a question, factors in.
It is, and I think to add on to what Bobby and Rinkesh said, pre-COVID, we would hear feedback from our owner advisory councils on brands really require a lot of training for our team members. Now we're actually hearing the opposite of, to your point, a lot of these team members are new to hospitality and they don't have the basics. So we're providing a lot of basic training tools through our Boost program where you can go on and they're like checklist. We're also helping by providing hotels the opportunity to use our recruitment site, HiltonCareers.com. We have toolkits where hotels can create ads, and we have an award-winning culture at Hilton, of course, the #1 workplace for hospitality in the world. And we take a lot of those key learnings and share them with hotels. And our thing we're really proud of is highlighting team member stories on our site to kind of disrupt the way potential applicants think about joining the hotel industry, because they might think, I'm gonna be a server or a housekeeper, which are awesome jobs, but they might not think of all the opportunities that that career could have, in addition to great benefits. So as we're posting these sites at a very small amount fee to the hotel, the Every Job Makes a Stay campaign that we're running right now has already had over 2 billion impressions. So this gives hotels owners and their job openings another way of hopefully getting applicants in, because it's really about getting eyeballs on those open positions.
It is interesting to think about churning a workforce in just 5 years of a lot of people who had not been in hospitality before, maybe weren't used to it, what that service culture looks like, what brand standards look like at a time when, like you say, there's a lot of demand, high price points, people want experiences. That could be a place where a lot of things could break down, so when you see it succeed, I think that's a positive. Speaking about positives, I'll bring up maybe a not so positive. So I have to ask you guys the question, the big uncertain potential cost right now around tariffs. Of course, these are uncertain. We don't know if it will change April 2nd. We don't know if something new will happen 30 days later or 5 minutes later. But we can't deny that it's happening. So my question for you all is, what conversations are you having about what if? And where are these potential tariffs going to hit you the most as owners that brands should be aware of, vice versa? Is it food? Is it FF&E? Talk to me about the worries and conversations you're having about tariffs. Pete?
Yeah, just from a construction standpoint, we're getting ready to get started on our Hampton Home 2 in Nashville, and met with our GC, and this is a conversation we weren't having a month ago, but now it's tariffs. We've got to account for it, whether they're around or not. I mean, with the geopolitical environment, we just don't know. It could change next month again, but basically we've got to account for it in our budget. And again,
so what do? Put more money toward it in the budget, or try and
No, we've got to put it in the budget.
You've got to throw money at it.
Yeah. So again, it could go away. Hopefully it does go away, but we've got to account for it. We're going up for financing right now, and lenders are going to start asking for it. How are you guys accounting for tariffs? So it's definitely, it's here. I mean, I think we've got to address it and just deal with it.
I suspect it's hitting all aspects of the building too, right?
Oh yeah, everything, yeah.
Lumber, steel, copper,
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
concrete, everything.
And we have no way to kind of see what's going to happen a month from now, or let's say we start construction and maybe they're gone, or maybe they've gone up or whatever. So it's definitely an issue that we've got to address.
Yeah.
Different types of supply chain issues than we faced during the pandemic.
Yeah, but the same thing there, we had to account for, cost escalations, and again, just, things would pop up, and you just gotta adjust. Again, it's making it harder and harder to get deals done. Now this is just another,
Especially with so much new construction.
right.
That it would be great to be, speeding that along. How about you, Rinkesh?
I think I'm there with Pete. I think you should always have a contingency. This time it's tariff. It could be flood in the Midwest and all the drywall is getting sucked in and you need $250,000 because the drywall price has gone up. It could be commodities market. So I think it's always wise to have that extra cushion in there. It's very hard when you have something like this kind of rhetoric coming out of DC. We don't know what the intentions are, or if it's intentional or not intentional, we just don't know what the end result is. So I think everybody should prepare for it. We do wood stick building, and our duration is very short. So we tend to keep a little bit more less than what you should do, because we're in and out very quickly, if that makes sense on it. And I think in terms of operational cost, I think it's going to be minuscule. It will come in and we'll source it out and we'll get it done. Operating hotel-wise, tariffs is not going to be as much of a big deal. But definitely for the development, there has serious implications. Yeah.
I heard this afternoon, if you all heard Mark Hoplamazian at noon speak, he gave a really interesting response to a similar question, and he likened it back to being nimble during the pandemic, right? So that was a big disruption, of course, and so his company, as many others did, had to figure out ways to deal with problems in the moment. And Greg Friedman, who was interviewing him, said, what are you doing to plan for this? And he said, nothing, because we've built our plans. We built our plans and learned how to be nimble and deal with change, particularly 5 years ago. So I thought that was a really interesting lesson learned, and I wonder if you all, and Diana, what's your take on this? Do you feel that the work that Hilton put in during that time to be able to go with the flow and say, okay, maybe we pause here, maybe we change this, does it feel more doable now?
I heard that too, and I agree with you. I was thinking the same thing. While it's a different challenge right now with the supply chain, we have had to be proactive and prepare for what if. And our HSM team, led by Anu Saxena, has great experience with this. So they are having those conversations right now with owners and with vendors and with brand heads on the what if scenarios so that we are prepared.
Right, you've been through what ifs before, it doesn't seem so foreign. What do you think, Bobby?
It's the same. I mean, Mark, I think, nailed it, right? Because we have dealt with it for the last, over 5 years now and learned a lot along the way. And, that active learning is just going to help us as we sort of navigate these next set of uncertain times. But sure it would be nice to be back in 2018.
It'd be nice to have a little period of calm between the Black Swan events.
Yeah, that would be
No
nice.
more.
No.
Not for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Knock wood. We'll see if that happens. So I want to talk, we only have less than 10 minutes, but you touched on technology earlier. That is something that comes up all the time now from so many perspectives of the industry. So whether it's the guest side, brand side, owner side, there are costs involved, and there's a lot of unknown and catch up, I think was the word you used, Bobby, that we'll never, ever be able to quite catch up. Owners. Where do you see the opportunity and maybe even some of the tension and, oh my gosh, we need more, we need XYZ to figure out what the tech picture looks like?
I think it's scary. I mean, just again with AI and all this, and that's where we kind of rely on the brands really to kind of provide that support.
Okay, so that's one way that you look to brands.
Yeah, I mean, even like, again, with AI, revenue management, I mean, it could be, great. I mean, it could really help us out. So I think we've got to rely on the brands to kind of give us that support and really kind of get the platform set for us where, we can be more efficient with their hotels and operations.
So the weight's on your shoulders, brands. How are you meeting it?
Go ahead, Bobby.
Well, I think we all have to have a
Ask
mind.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
How should I?
I need my phone out to ChatGPT it. But yeah, I think it's a mind shift where we just have to be accustomed and very comfortable with constantly changing, right? And knowing that you can't set these milestone dates and say, okay, I'm going to have this technology, but you just have to have this mindset that I'm going to always have to be changing technology or addressing it or learning how to adapt with it. and utilizing it the best I can, but continuing to learn from it. And it's evolving and it's changing so rapidly that the idea that, we could set, like in 5 years we're going to be here, I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Outdated, can't
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I can tell you technology is always on our Owner Advisory Council discussion agenda.
Okay.
Because that's one area we get a lot of feedback on, and it is a balancing act of, we like a good analysis at Hilton, so, listening to the guest and what their expectations are for whatever premium they're paying, and then listening to the owners on what makes sense. And doing a good job of storytelling the benefit to both the customer and the owner. Because sometimes I think we may miss a little bit on really sharing the whole value of if you spend A, here's how you can get to C. And I think we just have to do a little bit better job of storytelling, but then also listen and balance, because that's an area that we're always discussing and getting feedback from customers, owners, new technology, what's coming out, how can we balance it?
I'd add one more too.
Yep.
I think it's important to employ people that are comfortable with changing technology, and they really understand it, right? Because there's so many things that I don't understand and other people on our team doesn't understand. But when you have people that continue to improve in technology, it just helps out, and you have to be receptive to listening to people that that are more comfortable in technology than.
So students in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
And
gonna be-
technology has been on, we were talking about this last week, going back over 20 years of
Right.
Owner Advisory Council agendas, it's always been on the agenda. And we talk a lot about it today of technology. It's always been here, and it's always been at the forefront of how do we balance guest expectation with our owner economics so we can deliver what the need is. So it's been around forever, but it just
Yeah.
seems like we talk a lot about it now.
I want to hear what else has been around for a while. Like, we like to think that these conversations are always brand new and fresh and different, but the truth is, no. The same issues have been facing owners, brands, and guests for years and years. Tell us more about, tell the audience what they shouldn't worry about, whether they're from a brand or from an owner perspective, because these things will be okay.
It's really the basics, what you were talking about earlier. We talk about product and service and the guest expectation. And then from the owner side, how is the brand going to deliver the commercial performance of they're delivering the service and the product? How are we going to get the guest into the hotel?
Which has been tale as old as time.
That is.
Right? So fundamentals. Rinkesh, what do you think? What's
You
one
know,
of those, it'll be okay, we've done this before moments?
So a little bit of, so here's my take on this is we're a travel industry and we're a hotel industry. We're not an IT industry. I feel like a lot of things we do the conversation has been dominated about technologies. Sort of started, and I think Hilton and Marriott, and I think the industry as a whole, the brand company, sort of missed a mark when OTAs came about.
Okay.
And then it took us a while to get the control of our customer.
That was
our
a turning
customer, we
point,
pay
for
for
sure.
it. You shouldn't go to them, right? And it was costing us a lot of money. So when the app era came in, kudos to these guys and everybody else, we won that battle. I think we learned a lesson and we said, look, let's do it. And it continues to be the case that our brand contribution and our customer acquired by them coming to us is the lowest cost customer that's coming to us. And it's in a volume and it pays dividend. And they've delivered seamless technology in driving top line number to our hotels. That's no fun. Now, here's the grievance that we have is, while you guys do a phenomenal job with making that experience great for our guests, for the operators, it's not so fluid. And it sometimes misses, it doesn't misses. And I think that's because and I see where it is, it's that they're not a technology company and there's a lot of exposures. So they have to go to these third parties. And they're not hospitality oriented. And when those people get on board, and they're large people, they're just treating us like another customers. And they're missing rollout dates, and there's just a lot of pain for the operators. And also the solutions that they are coming up with, they're not fully integrated with APIs. And maybe I'm talking too much tech language here, but there's a lot of back-end stuff that we have to do that we should not have to do, especially if we're paying those people to provide the solutions to us, right? So I think maybe they'll share the word with the right people and they'll do better with it. And just when we figure out there's an issue here, we say, okay, that's great. This is going to be a game changer. Let's do it. We keep getting the guests. Guests are happy. Digital locks and whatever you call it, digital key, whatever. But operating that systems is like a nightmare for
Then
us,
that's
right?
another level.
That's another, because we are relying on third party. It's not an in-house department, if that makes sense. Would you agree, Pete? Yeah, it's just, it's a problematic issues on it.
Right.
And I think the other part of that is by the time we have that and we adapt it, that initiative or that functionality is gone, and the consumer wants something different.
Right.
So my plea too is like, you know what, let's not be reactive anymore. Let's figure out and let's stay ahead of this curve so that we as an operator are
Just
not
stay
feeling
there,
pain.
right.
Kudos for driving the top numbers in, but make our life easier a little bit.
Yeah, the only constant is change, I guess. So Pete, what do you think, what's your example of, hey guys, everything's gonna be fine?
Honestly, it's not easy right now. But again, you know, we're all optimists, right? I mean, we're in the hospitality industry. We went through COVID and we got through it, right? So
See?
this is just the next hurdle we got to get over. And, you know, there's sunnier days ahead, I think.
That's it. Bobby, how about you? Take us home.
When I first started working in development, we'd have a good year, and everyone at the end of the year would say, "Oh, like I don't think we can ever repeat this." You know,
Right.
I don't, and I think we're going to run out of street corners. That's like the most common. But there's no more street corners, and guess what? Every year there are more street corners. You know, if you stick to the fundamentals, you work on projects in strong markets, at great street corners with great brands, and you put together a good partnership, then they usually work out.
See, what a good note to end on. That should leave everybody filled with hope and joy and optimism, right? Yes, okay, join me in thanking our panel.